Hey Jackie, it's Katie. I hope you're doing well. I'm gonna be doing a little 10-minute vlog for our personal reflection instead of an essay. Thank you for giving us that option. I always like to take that option. It's more fun. So I have my notes off to the side, so I'm just gonna be kind of like touching on my talking points as I record this. So, for the activities I participated in, I was there for the class where we did, I believe, three different activities, and we did breakout rooms. The first one, the meanie activity, where we wrote down words or comments that would like hurt us personally as a counselor. Mine was that my client like saying me that I didn't care about them when like it's literally my job to care about them, or somebody saying maybe that I wasn't qualified would like really probably hurt my feelings. As a speaker, it felt a little bit like odd to share what I had written down just because it's like kind of a hypothetical thing that none of us have really experienced yet. Um, but my classmates, they did a great job of like reflecting the feeling. I felt really understood, and they helped me put like a word to like the feeling. Maybe kind of like a sense of being like feeling rejected. Um, yeah. So, but it was I liked the activity. And then, as far as being a listener in that, I actively listened to my classmates. Um, and I would say I practice unconditional positive regard. It's my favorite theory. It's what I'll use in my practice. I feel like my responses to them really just kind of affirmed their feelings of what they were describing. That was my goal, and I think what I got across to them. Um, I enjoyed listening to what they had to say, as far as like the reflections of other people, as far as the reflections of what other people's like what they wrote down as what would hurt them. The responses were really like they're really good. I feel like we've just grown a lot as a class as far as our counseling skills, which is really wonderful to see. Let's see here. Yeah, it felt like a safe environment. Kind of after I shared, it felt like a safe environment to talk and be heard and be able to reflect feelings. For the second activity, something meaningful, I loved this activity. This was definitely my favorite one that we did. Um, I personally shared a family photo, and this picture means a lot to me. If I had it with me, I would show you, but I'm not at home. It's a picture of my family. I have three older sisters. Um, Two of which are married. One is married to a Hispanic man, and the other is married to a black man. And it's a picture of my whole family: my dad, my stepmom, my sisters, and then my sisters' husbands, and our dogs are actually in it too. And for me, like the picture represents like my dad kind of overcoming some preconceived notions about race. Um, and it just like reminds me of how much he's grown and learned to be accepting of everybody over the course of my life. He used to have like some pretty racist tendencies, and after like my sisters started dating these men who are different than us. And I mean like different, they're not white. That's the only thing that's different. But it just kind of represents the growth and unity for me within my family, and I really love that picture. And it's been great to watch my dad grow and be supportive and not be racist, basically, is what I'm trying to say lightly. When I told that story, my group was really, really supported. They definitely acknowledged the growth that my dad had, and they said that my dogs were cute, which was nice. And they also reflected to me that they could tell that family was really important to me. But yeah, that picture just means a lot. It represents a lot. Let me see where I am in my notes. I don't really remember what other people shared for that activity. It's all just kind of been a blur recently. But that was my favorite activity, getting to talk about something meaningful to me and my classmates, like reflecting that feeling. It felt good. It was cool. And then for activity 3, we watched that video on a woman who has DID, which is where you have like split personalities, and I have like minimal knowledge of that. I learned about it in different psych classes, but I hadn't ever really watched a video about it, so the video came across as pretty shocking to me. And it just kind of really goes back to like the trauma that you experience as a young child can actually like cause your brain to split into multiple personalities to be able to handle the abuse. That kind of like blew my mind a little bit. I mean, like I've known the definition of it before, but hearing it explained like that was kind of, it's just crazy. Where was I? Personally, I don't think I could ever work with someone who has DID. I don't really think that's my specialty. I mainly want to work with children, teens, adolescents, the youth. That's what I'm doing this for. Um, Generalized therapy, play. I really want to do play therapy. And then like kind of like integrative therapy where you're a little bit too young for play therapy, but you're a little bit too young for play therapy, but you're not quite old enough to be able to put to be really able to put feelings to like what is going on, kind of like that age between, what is it, maybe like 11 and like 13ish, maybe like 8 and 11, around that kind of age group. I do think that I would be able to practice unconditional positive regard with a client who has DID, but it would not be, again, it would not be my specialty. It would probably not be a client that I would personally take on. I would have to refer them out if that was, a major mental illness that they're dealing with. Let's see here. Yeah, but it was really interesting to watch that video, and I don't really remember what my group discussed about it. I think pretty much half of us were like, yeah, we could probably have a client like that, and the other half was like, honestly, no, like I don't think I could do that. But everyone has their different strengths and their different areas that they want to focus in, and yeah. Okay, so for interpersonal skills and strengths, obviously, well, you don't know me that well, but empathy is definitely my number one skill. I'm super empathetic. Sometimes maybe a little too empathetic, honestly. I've always just been very, very caring of others and always wondering, well, you never know what that person's going through. You never know exactly why they're acting that way. And I would say that that's my strongest strength, like to my core. I would say I'm a good listener. I'd say that there's always room to improve your listening skills. We always want to make sure that we are reflecting what the client is saying and that we're not ever bringing the conversation to us. And we know how self-disclosure is a very slippery slope. In the right instance, it can be very powerful and help your client, but in the wrong instance, it directs the therapy session to you when your focus is the client. So, yeah, that's just one thing to think about. As far as my interpersonal skills, room for growth, like I said, I think that there's always growth in being an active listener. I think that that's kind of something that you grow and adapt and sorry, my words are so jumbled. You improve on it as you go through life, right? Okay. And then also like for improving interpersonal skills, in a group, sometimes I have a hard time speaking up. I tend to like to work alone. But that's just one thing that I experienced, like from this class specifically. Sometimes in the breakout rooms, I would really want to say something, but there's just something stopping me. So there's definitely some room for growth and like getting my voice heard in a group. Okay, so the next question, interpersonal skills in non-professional relationships. So something really important is obviously showing empathy when somebody opens up to you. I think it's important that, if a friend, like the example says, if a friend or neighbor opens up to you, I think it's important to show empathy and show that you care, but it's also, you have to kind of like make sure that it doesn't turn into a therapy session, because unsolicited advice is often perceived as criticism, right? Like, you're not their therapist, you're their friend. So, unless they're asking from a therapeutic lens, what should I do? Or I'm dealing with this, try to make sure that there's like that fine line between. Um, and then, okay, again, we're still on non-professional relationships, interpersonal skills. Um, I think being caring and kind, listening to what others have to say is really valuable in a friendship, and just to kind of make sure that you aren't only talking about yourself or talking over them, and making sure that you have really strong, open communication. It's very important in any friendship or anyone you come across. You have to communicate your needs or what you're feeling or what's going on, or things are going to get muddled and you're not going to get along. And then the last question, how will you use interpersonal skills in your professional relationships? I think that I kind of have the mentality as, a future counselor, that like my core values of empathy, being compassionate, listening, I carry them with me all the time. I don't just like set them aside. I feel like it's really kind of who I am as a person. So I really think it's mainly the same, but of course, the way that you interact with a client is not going to be the same way that you interact with someone who works in your same therapy office, right? Like if you work at a counseling center or whatever. Um, I just think the main skills of being empathetic, and active listener, kind, caring, compassionate, are things that counselors practice in everyday life. It isn't something you just turn off. And then again, in those professional relationships, communication is very, very important, especially, with, say your boss, your supervisor, and of course with your client. You want to have open communication, and also make sure that boundaries are in place. Okay, well, I went about 2 minutes over, but I think that's okay. Thank you so much for everything, Jackie. I really enjoyed your class. I wish we could have had it in person, and I hope that you have a wonderful winter break with your family. Yeah, take care. Bye.